Hey guys, what's going on? Thank you so much for joining me for today's video. Today's video is a little bit different, but I feel compelled to make this video because I think it's important and I want to just celebrate the life of Brent Hinds. So in case you guys are unfamiliar, which I'm sure many of you guys know at this point, Brent Hinds passed away yesterday, Thursday, August 21st, early in the morning or late, into the evening of August 20th. And, it's a huge shock and it's incredibly sad to say the least, right? And I usually don't like doing these videos too much because, I don't know, it's not necessarily my place to speak on somebody I've never met, or I don't know, it just doesn't ever really feel right for me. But in this video, I feel compelled to talk about Brent because a lot of my peers have been friends with him or were friends with him for decades, and I myself had the opportunity to meet him. So in this video, I just want to just talk about my experiences with him, tell some funny stories, and, just if I could give any sort of, piece of Brent to you guys through my experiences, I'm all for that. So I had the opportunity to meet Brent backstage in 2023 in Coney Island, New York. It was Lorna Shore, Gojira, and Mastodon. Mastodon and Gojira were doing their co-headlining tour, and Brian, his son, and myself all went and got to go backstage and meet Mastodon. I was fortunate enough and honored to meet all four of the members, but Brent and myself really connected, and I spent most of my time backstage in this kind of really beautiful, kind of rooftop deck in Coney Island, New York, and the beach was just right off to the side. It was a really cool setting. It wasn't like your typical grungy, dark lit green room or anything like that. It was just such a cool summer experience, I guess we'll say. And so I went up to Brent and I introduced myself. I said, "Hey dude, what's up? My name's Xander. Very nice to meet you." And he goes, "Oh, nice to meet you too, man." And the first thing he says, he looks at me and he goes, "Wow, you must like the color black, huh?" And then, obviously very understanding of why he would say that. And he said it with a smile on his face. It was like, I get it, you know what I mean? And I took one look at him and I saw that he had some black work on his, I think it was his left arm. And I go, "Yeah, I guess you do too." And we kind of just laughed and gave each other a high five over black work tattoos. So that right off the bat was my first ever interaction with Brent Hinds. And it was such a cool, it was just a very tongue-in-cheek kind of laughing moment for the both of us, because he was pointing out my black work, I pointed out his black work, we laughed at it, and just kind of, that was the catalyst to our conversation. So from there we went right into guitar nerd talk, right? And I had mentioned to him that I had done content and some promotional stuff with Victory amps, and he himself was affiliated with Victory quite heavily. And so we just went right off the rip of just talking about Victory amplifiers, right? Talking about our mutual friend Alex, who's the Stringjoy rep and the Victory amps rep, and just another connection that we had. We had a mutual friend, and he and Alex were just, the best of friends seemingly, or the best friends from a professional standpoint. I'm not going to speak on their behalf, but they were really close, and Alex was always working with Brent. Right from there, we got to talk about gear, mutual friends, and throughout the entire conversation, from beginning to end, it was nothing but love and just the utmost respect for the both of us. He was just treating me like a normal person. And, he's in a band called Mastodon. He has every right to, maybe not want to give a stranger the time of day, but he went out of his way, went above and beyond to just make me feel welcome and, made a connection with me really, really quickly. And then from there, Brent was doing his Brent-isms, I guess we'll say, where we were talking about guitar amps and stuff like that. And then he was talking about, he wanted some sort of different amp. We're always tweaking. We always want the next new shining thing as guitar players, right? And then he just started going off on a tangent saying "Yeah, dude, I think I've got aliens making my next, guitar amp," we'll say. And I go, "Oh, sick. From what planet?" And he goes, "Oh, definitely Mars." And I'm like, "Yeah, they're pretty good. I've heard they've got great quality control," and, whatever the hell I said. We were just riffing off of just stupid stuff. And we went off of somewhat of a normal conversation and just started talking about aliens and space and guitar nerd stuff for about 2 minutes. Just two dorks. I myself a dork, and Brett just talking about, a bunch of nonsense, but, seeing who could outdo the other in terms of "Oh, it's from Mars. Oh yeah, I heard they're good at making amps. Yeah, you don't want to go to Venus because their amps suck. Yeah, what about Pluto? Pluto's not really a planet, Okay, yeah, it makes sense. Just a stupid conversation, but it was just, I love to riff off of just stupid ideas. A lot of my mutual friends, my childhood friends, that's all we talk about. And it was just funny that Brent, had just the utmost fun with me talking about that and just speaking in a way that made no sense And if anybody was to walk through that conversation, they would have no idea what we're talking about. But we were like locked in and, you know, straight face the whole time and just like seeing who could out, you know, nerd the other one talking about guitars, you know, made from space or whatever. Just incredibly stupid, but a fond, fun memory for me. So then from there, I don't necessarily remember how the conversation went. It was about a 10, 15-minute conversation. It was pretty long, pretty extensive. He and I just kind of off in the corner, just talking, just hanging out. And then I asked him if I could get a picture, and he goes, yeah, sure, absolutely, dude. Here, let me take it. And so then he grabs my phone, and he just snaps a bunch of, like, pictures really quick. And then he's like, all right, bring it in. Let's, like, do goofy ones. And so then we just took more pictures, and he, like, snapped them all himself and said, here you go, man. Yeah, I hope it was good. And, you know, I really just appreciated that. So from there, you know, the backstage hangout, I guess we'll say, went on its merry way. And that was more or less it. That was the only time I really had the opportunity to meet him in person. But that interaction meant a lot to me just because, like I said, he's in a band called Mastodon. He's in a legendary band, but him giving the time of day to just some kid from Philadelphia, you know, a couple years ago really meant a lot to me. And it was just cool how through mutual contacts and connections and friends, we were able to connect ourselves and then just have a cool conversation about the things we enjoy. So that's like my favorite memory from Brent Hinds. And I've heard just copious amounts of great things from people that have known him. You know, my favorite video of all time in terms of like gear promotion is his signature orange amp, where he's just like, you know, it's a classic video if you guys have seen it. Well, Alex, our mutual friend, was the one conducting that interview. And Alex was the one who did like my Stringjoy deal and my Stringjoy endorsement. So like Alex, you know, has a sense of humor as well. So like it was cool to hear that in hindsight. Like, you know, Alex and Brent really had a great relationship together. You know, it's such a sad loss, and it's such a bummer, right? It's affecting everybody. And, you know, I'm not going to say like I was the biggest Mastodon fan, like a diehard, but I had the utmost respect for that band, for Brent, for his playing. Getting to see him live was definitely a bucket list band. And it was just, you know, a great interaction that I had with him in Coney Island. And, you know, I've had that story just in my back pocket, never really told it to anybody. But, yeah, I was just very thankful to have that interaction in my own life. Rest in peace, Brent. Thankful to have met you. Thankful to have been able to have any sort of connection with you. And, yeah, man, it's a real bummer. So, yeah, I just wanted to make this video to just, you know, share my experiences, say my condolences, and just share all the great things that I've heard about this individual. And yeah, man, just if I can say anything to you guys, just tell your loved ones you love them. It's very short. Life is very short. It's very finite, and it's very unpredictable. So this experience has just made me think a lot about my own life and the people I'm close to. So if I can relay that to you guys and help in any sort of way, you know, I'm going to be sure I can do that. So everybody, that's the video today. Just wanted to share my story with Brent and create a product in the form of a video for all of us to connect and just share any sort of experience we've had with Brent. And yeah, just celebrate his life and, you know, just think about him, I guess. All right, everybody, that's the video today. I love you guys so much. I really do. You guys mean the world to me. And with that being said, everybody, I'll see you guys in a video very, very soon. And yeah, rest in peace. And rest in peace, Brent Hinds.